Well, hello Internet, and welcome to part 25 of my Learn to Program series. In this part of the tutorial, I'm going to finish up my Tkinter tutorial by creating a fully functional Python Paint application. And with what I cover here, and if you can combine it with things like the toolbar and the menu bar and things like that, you're going to be able to make a totally fully functional Paint application. And of course, I'm going to cover Canvas and how you can draw on it in numerous different ways. All of the code is available in the description underneath of the video, and I have a lot to do, so let's get into it. Alright, so the very first thing I'm going to do here is import the things that I know that I need. So I'm going to need Tkinter, and I'm also going to want to write text onto the canvas. And so to do that, I need Tkinter font. Now I need to think about all the things I'm going to need to make. So the very first thing, of course, is I'm going to define my class. So there you go. That's the very first thing I want to do. And what else am I going to need? I'm going to need to define class variables. And the name of the class is going to be, let's just go and do that right now here just so that we have something. I'm going to call this Paint App. And everything is going to be inside of this one class. Alright, so now let's get into the meat of how this is going to work. Well, of course, everything's going to be controlled by the mouse. So I'm going to need to know when the mouse button goes up. So I'm going to say catch mouse up. And likewise, I'm also going to have to catch whenever the mouse button goes down. Maybe I should have done that in a different order, but whatever. And what else do we need? We also need to catch, we want to be able to allow them to draw like a pencil tool. So I'm going to say that we need to catch mouse move. And the other things, well, I just said I want to draw with a pencil. So I'm going to, oops, don't do that. Let's go and draw with the pencil. See, everything is all logically put together here, so we don't have to think too much. What else are we going to do? Well, now it's just the functionality. I want them to also be able to draw a line, and I also want to allow them to draw an arc, and that's also going to be like pie shapes and things like that. Draw an oval. And everything, just as I listed here, is going to be the functions that I create inside of my class. Draw a rectangle and draw text. Said I wanted to do that. And is there anything else that I want to show you how to do? Well, finally, I'll just say initialize. And there we go. Alright, so those are the different things that I need to create here inside of my class to make my Paint application work. So now what we need to do is think about the type of things that we're going to need to store. Well, one thing, I need to know which one of these things I'm going to be drawing. So it just makes sense that I just go and create a class variable inside of here, and I'm going to call it drawing tool. And by default, I'm going to put line in there, and that, of course, will change. I'm going to keep this really simple. The changing of the different drawing tools and all that stuff, that's going to be up to you to create inside of your file menu, okay? It's something that is so extremely simple, I'm not going to waste time because I don't want to have this program be huge. I want you to be able to look at it and completely understand it and then use it to make or complete your Paint application. Believe me, it's going to be very functional. It's just not going to have things you click on in a menu bar. That's about it. I'm also going to want to track whether the left mouse button is in the up or down position, and I'm going to have it be in the up position because, of course, that's where it starts off. Whenever I am drawing with the pencil, I am, of course, going to need to have the X position for where the mouse is on the screen at the time and the Y position. And I'm going to give those both none for default values. Now, whenever I am drawing with rectangles and arcs and ovals and all those different things, what it's going to want is the X1 position, and it's also going to want the Y1. That's going to be upper left-hand corner point. And also it's going to want to know the X2 and the Y2 position, which is going to be the bottom right-hand corner. Now I'm going to go and let's just put line inside here for now. Of course, I might want to come in and change that later on. So I'm going to go and throw all these inside of here, and there we go. And then I'm going to give those all the value of none by default. Alright, so do we need anything else? Well, as far as I know, we don't. I think that's enough information. You want to keep your class variables short. You don't want to have a bazillion of them. If you have a lot of them, that means you're probably doing something wrong. So for now, we're going to keep our class variables right there. So now I need to track when the mouse button goes up. So, well, very first thing I'm going to do, I'm going to come down and I'm going to initialize this guy. So we'll go and initialize this, and this guy is going to be passed root. And what are we going to do? Well, I'm going to have a drawing area, which is where I'm going to create canvas, and you need to pass root. So there we are. We're going to have our canvas area we're going to draw on. And then I'm just going to keep it very simple. I'll just say drawing area and pack it inside of our interface. And then we need to add in all of our different bindings so that we can catch events. So we're going to go bind, and we're going to say that we want to track motion because we said that we want to track motion previously. And whenever that is called, I'm going to call self motion. All right, and that is going to be a function I'm going to create here very, very, very soon. So we got that guy. And we're also going to be tracking the button press 1, and that is the left mouse button. And whenever that is going to be clicked on, we are going to be calling our left button down function. And let's get rid of that extra self inside of there, you silly thing. All right, and what else do we need? Well, we're also going to be tracking button release 1. So whenever that button is released, we will know. And for this one, I'm going to have this be left button up. All right, and that's all I need to do to initialize it. Remember, if your functions are nice and short, that is a good thing. That's a sign that you're doing things right. All right, so now we'll go in, create root, our TK object, and then we will create our paint application. And there's paint app, and we're going to pass it root, of course. And what else we got to do? Well, of course, we have to call main loop so that everything keeps running. So it's initialized, and we got root created, and we got our paint application going. So now what we need to do is go up and create all these functions. Okay, so we need to come in here and decide what we want to do whenever the mouse goes up. And I just said that the function is going to be called left button down. Well, let's change this to down and this to up. Down and up. That was bugging me. I said it before, and now I'm going to do it here. Okay, so here we are. Now we're going to track whenever the left button goes down. So what's going to happen? Well, there's going to be an event, and we're going to give that a value of none in case nothing came through there. And what do we want to do? Well, up here, remember we are tracking whether the left mouse button is down or up. So we want to come in here and make sure that we have that set for ourselves. And in this situation, now it's down. All right, what else do we need to track? Well, whenever we are going to be clicking, we want to track the X and Y position for the click. So here we're going to say self and X1 line point. And to get where they clicked, we go event and we go X. And likewise, we do almost identically the same exact thing. What are you doing over here? We do almost exactly the same exact thing for the Y position. So there we go. And as far as I know, that's all we need to do for catching the mouse down. We want to know where they clicked at. That's it. And we want to mark down that it's down. All right, anything else? We might not need this at all. I don't know. I'm just writing this out of my head. So let's go. Next thing we want to do is track the mouse going into the up position. So I'm going to say left button up. And for this guy, of course, whoops, self's in there already. We want to track event and set that for none. All the code's available, like I said before, in the description. If you want to take a look at that, it might help a lot because it's heavily commented. And left button. And now it's in the up position, so let's track that also. And what do we want to do? Well, we want to reset our X and Y position since they're in the up position now. So we're going to say self, and we're going to say position is going to be equal to none. And we're going to do exactly the same thing for the Y position. And there it is, and we'll set that for Y as well. And then we are also going to want to set our X and Y whenever the mouse is released. So we are going to track whenever it is clicked and then when it's released. Okay, both of those guys. And that's going to allow us, here you can use this for the starting and da 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 da. So what this is going to do for us is allow us, what I'm going to do next is going to allow us to create things like rectangles and ovals that need the bottom right hand corner X and Y position plus the upper left hand X and Y positions. So here I'm going to go X2 line point, and we are going to also get the X position on that guy, and we're going to do the same thing for the Y position. Alright, so that will allow us to draw rectangles and ovals and everything else. Anything else I want to do? Well, I need to track here what's going on. Which function am I going to call whenever the mouse button is released? Well, here I'm going to say if self and drawing tool is equal to a line. In that situation, I want to call a function that I'm going to call line draw and pass it the event, just in case we need that information. And as far as I know for now, I'm going to have all the other events go in there, but for now, I'm just going to keep it just working for the line. So now what I need to do is track whenever we want to use the pencil tool, and also track the mouse movements. And for this guy, I'm just going to call it motion, like I defined below with the binding. And then with it also, I'm going to get the events. And what am I doing here? Well, mainly what I'm doing with mouse movement. I don't care about mouse movement. All I care about is X and Y whenever I'm drawing everything. But I do care about mouse movement when I'm drawing with my pencil. So I'm going to say here, if self and drawing tool is going to be equal to pencil. Well, in that situation, I'm going to start drawing. So first thing I want to do is make sure that X and Y both have a value before I try to draw. So I'm going to say self X position is not none, and self Y position is not none. So that means I have an X and Y position, and now I can draw on the screen. And then to do so, you just say event widget create line. That is the function you call. And inside of it, you pass in the X position, and you also pass in the Y position. And then I'm also going to get the current X and Y position. And then in this situation, I'm going to say that I want this to be a smooth line. So true. Then after I have that all set up, I'm going to come out of here, and I'm going to say that I want to store the current X position with the Y, so that's going to allow me to drag the mouse, and it's going to constantly update X and Y. So it's going to grab X and Y as quickly as humanly possible and keep switching them. So it's going to go from the X and Y where it was to the X and Y where it is going to, and then that's going to flip back to the beginning, and that's going to allow us to draw smooth lines with our mouse. So I'm going to come in, and I'll say X position is equal to event. And if there's anything that I say that doesn't make sense, feel free to leave a comment, and I will answer it. And here I'm going to do the same exact thing with the Y position, because you have to understand, as you're moving, this function is going to be called over and over and over and over again. That's why we want X and Y to constantly update. So what else do we want to do here? Well, actually, you know what I'm going to do here? This is what happens whenever I code out of my head. I'm actually going to have this be a little bit more simplified. I'm going to come in here, and I am going to copy inside of the motion. I'm going to break this up and put the more of the pencil part down here. All right, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to keep this part inside of here, the pencil part, but then what I'm going to do is I'm going to go self and call pencil draw and pass it the event so as to not junk up my motion sensing function right here. So that's all I'm going to do there. Then what I'm going to do is come in here and define, and this is going to be pencil draw, of course, and self and event, and make that be none. And then in my pencil draw area down here, I'm going to say if self left button equal to down. And now I'm going to break this out of the motion section and put it down here where I think it makes a little bit more sense. I could normally edit out this part of the video and make it look like I'm smarter, but I'm showing you my thought process instead because I think that's valuable. So here what I'm going to do is take this guy and take all of this stuff, and I'm going to cut that out of there. Okay, so now we have motion nice and tight, and now we have pencil draw down here. And then what I'm going to do is paste it inside of there. So now the motion's only doing what motion sensing should do, and the pencil part's only doing what the pencil part should do. So hopefully that makes a lot of sense, and I think that all looks really good. And the last thing I want to do before I run it and test to see if everything I'm doing here is correct is I'm going to come in and allow them to draw regular straight lines along with pencil lines. So draw a line, and event is equal to none. And how are we going to draw regular old lines? Well, we're going to do something quite simple. Now, I could type out if this long thing, and this is going to get a lot longer because now I'm going to have to check for 4 points because a line has an x and y at one end and an x and y at the other end. Or I could go if none, not in, and throw all these different guys inside here. So self and x1, and that's going to allow me to check all of these different guys instead of just one at a time. So there's that. And then we'll also check for the other two options. So throw both those in there and just change this to 2 and this to 2. Okay, so we want to make sure we have an x and a y before we try to draw our line. Now, I'm going to do pretty much exactly the same thing. I'm still going to be drawing a line. So this time we're just using x and y and da-da-da-da-da. Let's just paste that in there. And the difference here is I'm going to use these guys. So I'm going to copy this, paste that in there. And why don't I just do this? It'll make a little bit more sense. Copy, paste all of those in there. And the only thing I want to add here is I want to change the line color so that you know how to change the line color. And I'm going to change that to green. And I think that's all I need to do for that. So what we're going to do here first is we're going to test the application using line, and then we are going to test the application using the regular old pencil tool. Let's come down here and see what this looks like, and everything looks pretty interesting. Alright, so let's run it. And it opens up. Here's the default, and let's see, can we draw lines? Yep, and they're also green lines. Okay, so pretty cool stuff. We were able to draw straight lines. Alright, it sort of is a paint application now. So now what we're going to do, change it into pencil, run it again. Might come down here, there we are, and now let's see if the pencil works. And it does. Look at that. It's beautiful. So now we're able to draw lines and pencil. And of course you could change those with the toolbar presses and all the stuff that I covered previously. Because the only thing you'll need to change whenever the toolbar or a file menu item is clicked on is this. Okay? So I'm positive you can handle that, and that is your homework. Alright, so now what do we want to do? Well, we want them to be able to draw arcs. So we'll just come down inside of here and tab in, of course. We're inside of our class, and we're going to call this arc draw, just so it's like everything else we are covering. Event is equal to none once again. And we want to check that there is an X and Y, because an arc is actually going to use an upper left hand X and Y position and a lower X and Y position. So we're going to copy this guy. So we're going to copy that and paste that in there to make sure that those guys exist. And we will tab that in, of course. And what are we going to do inside of here after we check that they exist? Well, we are going to have to pass in coordinates for drawing arcs. So I'm going to call this chords is equal to, and it's going to be these guys again. So let's just go and copy them. We know they exist and they have values and everything's wonderful. So there we go. Now we have our coordinates all set up for drawing our arc. And let's move this over here so you can see it a little bit better. Alright, so there's everything. So now what we're going to need to do is define our arc. And to do so, we say event, widget, and create arc. Pretty easy to remember. And then you pass in your coordinates. You're then going to pass in start and have that be 0. And start is just going to be the starting angle for the arc or slice that you're going to be drawing inside of in degrees. And then you're going, and you can change those and see how they change things. Then you're going to have extent, and that's going to be the width of the slice in degrees. And we're just going to put 150 inside of there for that. And you could also put fill inside of there, and that would be to fill the guy. And then we are going to put style and have that be arc to draw an arc. If you would instead prefer to draw like a pie slice, you would type in pie slice. And if you prefer to draw a chord, you would type chord inside of there. Okay, but we're going to leave it be arc because we want to draw arcs. And that's it. That is all it is. That's all it takes to be able to do that. But we want to be able to draw our arc. So arc draw is right there. And we want to come up here. Where is our little guy where we were checking? And there we are. If self-drawing is line, well, we want arc to be another option for us. So we're going to say elif, whoops, there we are, move that back over here. If it is going to be equal to arc, well, then we want to call arc draw. And there's arc draw. And we can come up here and change this to arc. Pretty simple. Now let's run it and see if it works. And there we are. And you can go in there and test. There we say there's an arc. Look at that, arc. And of course, it's going to be a little bit different because of how we changed. You can draw straight lines with arcs also, and so forth and so on. And of course, you can change fill to be able to change the fill color and all that other stuff. Okay, so we can draw with a pencil, we can draw lines, and now we can draw arcs. Next up, we want to draw ovals. Since I'm up here, I'm just going to change this to oval already. And then I'm going to come down here and I'm going to say that I want to be able to draw ovals. Throw that inside of there and change this to oval. And this is going to be called oval draw. And now we come down inside of the oval area. Define, and oval draw is what we're going to draw here. And guess what? It's going to be past event, just like previously. And just like we previously did, we're going to check to make sure there are X and Y positions, because ovals are also going to track all of that stuff, upper left-hand corner and the bottom for our bounding box. That's what it's called. And then we have to create our oval. And oval is going to have a whole bunch of other different things that it does. And we call create oval in this situation. And this guy is going to want the X and Y positions and all that stuff, so we are going to provide that to it. Just copy that and paste it inside of there. Put a comma, and then we're going to change some different things. So let's say that we want to change the fill color for our oval. We can do so. And we'll use midnight blue for that. And this is a built-in color for using Tkinter. And if you want to see what all of them look like, that is in Wiki, TCL, TK, this guy right here. This is all the built-in Tkinter different colors. And here you can see midnight blue right there. So there that is. And that link will be in the code, of course. And what else do we want to define here with our oval? Well, let's also say that we want to change the outline or the border for it. And let's have that just be yellow. And then what else do we need? Well, let's change the width of our border and let's make that 2. Okay, that's it. That is how simple it is. And let's run it. And here it is. And let's test it. And there we do. Now we can draw circles and we can draw ovals. Okay, just like a regular old paint application. So there you go. Alright, so the next thing I want to do is draw rectangles. Let's scroll up here and let's change this to rectangle. And then we will come down here and provide that option for drawing rectangles. And paste that in there and we'll say rectangle. And we will call rectangle draw. And there that is. So now we need to create rectangle draw. See, it's pretty step by step. And just for the heck of it, we are going to come in here and copy all of this, and because you're going to draw rectangles in much the same way you draw ovals, paste that inside of there, that over there, get all this stuff all lined up. Now of course we're going to come in, check X and Y positions in the upper left hand and lower right hand corner, and here we just need to go and change oval into rectangle. It's going to get all of this other stuff. It's also going to get, let's just go up here, whoop, drag in fill. Let's have it be midnight blue and yellow as well. And let's have the width be 2. Okay? So, well, the only thing we need to do is change this to rectangle draw. And let's run it. And let's see if it works. And yes, that is a rectangle. And there you are. Now you can draw rectangles. That was pretty easy, wasn't it? And that leaves us with the final thing, which is drawing text. So let's come up here and we'll put text inside of here. So there's text. And then we'll come in and do elif with text, change this to text, change this to text draw, and then we are going to come in here and we only need to check 2 of these items. So let's just grab this and copy it. Well, we have to go define text draw, and of course it's getting event is equal to none. We're going to check that we have those 2 values that are going to be needed for our stuff here. Close that off, put a colon after it. And if you want to see all the different fonts that are available, this is a shortcut way to do that, you can go Tkinter and font and then families, and that would print out in the console all the different font options that you have available. Just throwing that in there just so you can see. And then we're going to need to define the font we're going to use on our screen. And you go Tkinter and font, and then font with a big F. And let's say we love Helvetica, so let's use Helvetica here. Helvetica. And what else do we want to use? Well, you can also define the size for this guy. So let's make that 20 points. And you can define the weight for this guy. And let's make that bold. And we can also define if we want it to be italic or not. And you go slant and italic. And that is a way to define the text that you want to use in your Tkinter canvas. And then to draw that text, you just go event, widget, and create text. You pass over to it the X and Y position, and there that is, and there's Y1. And then the text color is going to be fill, and I'm just going to make this be green. You're going to define your font, and that's just going to be text font, which you just defined above. And then you define the text you want to put inside of there. And we'll just have that be wow. Okay, let's run it. Wow, 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 wow. And what more could I say about this awesome tutorial? Hopefully you guys enjoyed it. And like I said, for your homework, go in with a menu bar and the toolbar and make it into a fully functional paint application. It's about 98% there. So hopefully you guys enjoyed this, and just like always, please leave your questions and comments below. Otherwise, till next time.